The Blast from Our Past Network.
Lock your doors, close your windows, turn out your lights, for chills and thrills await you. It's time for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Stay with a friend, say your prayers as grisly ghouls close in to seal your doom, and enjoy this bonus episode of Podcasting After Dark.
Hey everybody, co-host Corey here, flying solo with a little mini bonus review, and this time I am reviewing a video game called Alien Rogue Incursion. It came out in 2024 as a VR game, and I didn't have, a PlayStation VR thing, so I never played it, but then in 2025, they remastered it for the PS5 and took out the VR. Kept everything else the same, but took out the VR so you could actually play it just with your controller. And, I saw it on sale for $20. It's normally $30. And I was like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. You know me, guys and gals, you know me and you know what I'm about. If it's an alien game, especially with a Colonial Marine spin, you know I'm going to be playing it. So, here's the dealio. You play as a ex-Colonial Marine named Zula Hendricks, and she's actually been in the comic books before. Back when Dark Horse had the Alien license, she made her first debut. She made her comic book debut in a series called Alien Defiance. It's really good. I've read it a few times. It's I think it's about 12 issues, 10 issues, something like that. And she teams up with a synth, an android named Davis 1. He's actually in this game as well, but I'll get into that in a second. So she was also featured in another comic book called Aliens Resistance, where she teams up with Amanda Ripley, Ellen Ripley's daughter, who we all saw in Alien Isolation. She's the main character in Alien Isolation. She's been brought into the comics as well. Then Zula is also in Aliens Rescue, another comic book by Dark Horse. And then she was in this game, so as far as timeline goes, she's in this game. And then she's in a book called Alien Inferno's Fall. So I guess if this timeline is not just a timeline of when things came out, but a timeline of Zula's life, then I guess she's going to survive this game. So you play as Zula Hendricks. She's a really cool character. I liked her in Alien Defiance, the comic book. She's basically a Marine that got hurt on her very first deployment, and not against Xenos, like an actual, you see her doing the things that I think Colonial Marines were always supposed to be doing, which is fighting uprisings, fighting other factions and stuff like that, like your typical, war stuff. And she gets hurt on her very first mission. Her back gets fucked up. And she kind of is always trying to prove herself because of it and always trying to rise up. And she makes for a very compelling character in that regard, at least in the comic book Alien Defiance. And it's sort of a factor in this as well, her back and everything. It doesn't hinder you or anything, but, Davis does sort of mention it. I have not read the other comic books. I want to, but they're kind of, now that Marvel has the Alien license, it's kind of hard to find some of the other Dark Horse stuff, and it doesn't look like those have been reprinted in, the Marvel app or whatever. So, things are a little wonky in that regard. I still have a lot of my old, Dark Horse omnibuses and stuff, but that was before this. And then I read Alien Defiance on Comixology, so I have all the issues on Comixology. So hopefully Marvel will kind of maybe put them out or reprint them or put them at least on the Marvel Unlimited app or something. That'd be nice to read it, because I do believe they're written by Brian Wood, who wrote Alien Defiance. And again, like I said, that was really good. Half of the series was drawn by Tristan Jones. His artwork is fantastic. Highly recommend picking it up and checking it out. It's a really cool story with some pretty damn cool art and some cool characters. So that brings us up to the game, Alien Rogue Incursion. Zula and Davis 1 are brought to a research planet to help out a friend. And I don't know if this guy was in one of the other comics or something, but, to me, he's new. No big deal. Story-wise, who really cares? They are shot down by the planetary defenses, the automated planetary defenses when they get there. And the bulk of the game is you kind of trying to explore the compound and, uncover the secrets of what's happening. Of course, they are researching xenomorphs and all this kind of stuff. And as far as gameplay goes, it took me 6 hours to beat this, so it's not the longest game, and it is only $30 not on sale, although I highly recommend getting it for $20 or something. So it's not a terribly long game, and it's also billed as a Part 1. No word on when Part 2 is coming out, maybe in 2026, 2027. I don't even know if they'll ditch, the VR stuff or not for Part 2, but whatever. So the map itself, when you're playing it, it's not huge, and you're going to basically be going back and forth to different areas that you've already been to, but, you come back to it, and you've got a new key card now, so you can unlock new areas. So you kind of become familiar with the areas that there are, but they're well designed. They feel totally, in place in the Alien universe. I love the look of it. Of course, I love playing as a Colonial Marine. You only have access to 3 weapons, a shotgun, a pulse rifle, and a pistol. You also get a welder, a cutter, so you can open up doors and stuff like that and other things. But all the guns feel great. Shooting the Xenomorphs is fun. Of course, you get a motion detector that you can use and everything like that. You have a little PDF pad or whatever. You can see where the next objective is. But when you're looking at that, the game doesn't pause, so you can't be looking at that during combat or anything. And, when you have the motion detector in one hand, you can't look at then the map. So there's like these little elements of realism to try to keep you immersed into the game. It's all first person, and it really, probably because it was made as VR, it never, ever breaks that first person aspect. Even like in cutscenes and stuff and everything, you're going to have some interesting cutscenes, and they're all going to be in first person, and shit's going to happen, and it's going to be pretty cool. Also when you're like climbing across like scaffolding and stuff, like it tells you to like hit R2, then hit L2, then R2, then L2. So it's really trying to make you be immersed. The Xenomorphs, they can kind of come out of anywhere. They can come out of these little vents. They can come out of the ceiling. They're good at hiding. There's been some times where I was like, a little startled. It's not the scariest game I've ever played, but, it caused me to jump a little bit. The environments are pretty dark. You have your shoulder lamp that you can turn on and off. And, there's been a couple times where organically the game made me jump. It's not like it's a cutscene or a forced jump scare or something like that, but, the game organically made me jump. But after a while, you kind of get used to, if you're in an environment for too long, a few aliens are going to start coming at you. And so there's always this sense of like urgency. You got to get a move on. But, after you've killed the 2 or 3 aliens, you're like, okay, I know that I have a solid like 4 or 5 minutes to explore without the aliens coming back. You kind of get used to the repetition, but it's not terrible. It's fun, Like I said, the combat is fun as well. You're going to do some neat stuff with like your cutter tool. You can actually open lockers with it, open briefcases with it, basically do some exploring with it. You can't seal doors, but you can open up sealed doors with it. And, the main thing you're going to be doing besides like unlocking new areas to kind of progress the story forward, you're also going to be looking for ammo and stuff because, your bullet count is limited. How many bullets you can carry is limited, between your pistol and your shotgun and your pulse rifle. That being said, in my 6 hours, there were only a few times where I really came down to the wire and I didn't have many bullets left, type of thing. And it was mainly during the 2 sort of boss encounter aspects of the game. There's only like one real boss to it, and it's fun. It's not a queen, but I think it's a Praetorian, like a bigger male type of thing. And they actually, it's not just shoot it or whatever. You got to do some stuff, but it's really cool. There's some cool things to it. Like I said, the environment's neat. The character's cool. I liked Zula Hendricks to begin with from the comics, so it was cool to do more with her here. You got Davis with you for a good part of the beginning of the game. And then some stuff happens. I don't want to get too spoilery here, but okay, spoiler alert, I'll just tell you. You get cocooned, and you spend the rest of the game like sort of with an alien in you, and eventually you're going to have to figure out whether, try to get it out later on. The fact that she's in a book that I guess takes place after this can sort of tell you what's going to happen. But you also do lose Davis as a character. He gets really damaged, and you have to basically download his brain into like your little PDF thing. So then you lose having another character with you, which kind of makes it, scarier and everything. Because he was, when he was with you, he would shoot other aliens and actually defend you and stuff like that. But you kind of lose him in the first third of the game, and you don't really have him with you anymore. And it becomes more tense that way, and I enjoy it. Another thing is it doesn't like auto save all the time, and gaming in 2026, it's kind of weird that you can't save anywhere, so you have to save at these dock stations. It's like Resident Evil, like you have to like go and do it there, and if you push forward too far and you die, you got to come all the way back to that save point. So you start like paying attention to where the save points are and everything like that. Story-wise, it's your run-of-the-mill, corporate espionage and corporations wanting to, use the alien for their own nefarious purposes and everything. And since this is a part 1 of 2, you don't get any conclusion to that. But I will say, like, as a standalone game, I didn't feel not satisfied when I beat it, because there is a little bit of an arc. Like, the whole main first game is the arc of the chest burster inside of her, so you kind of resolve that by the end of this and everything, and that's, it kind of creates this little mini arc here, but there's no arc, no conclusion to like, why you're there and why you were called there to help out your friend and everything. So I guess that'll be in the next game. But yeah, if you're like me, and you can't get enough of anything aliens related, especially if it's Colonial Marine related and, features pulse rifles, you're going to dig this. I wouldn't recommend it for $30, but I would recommend it for anything $20 and under. It's a good time. Like I said, 6 hours, I was done. Probably won't play it again. I don't, you could trophy hunt on it if you wanted, but I don't really feel that compelled to play it again. But I will get part 2 when it comes out, and I will play that. And I did enjoy my 6 hours with this game. I very much enjoyed my 6 hours with it. It's not a budget title, but it's not quite a AAA title either. But the dev team did a good job with it, and I very much enjoyed it. So, Alien Rogue Incursion. I played it on the PS5. I did not play the VR version. I played the PS5 enhanced version. So, yeah, go check that out if it sounds like it's your cup of tea. And, guys and gals, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. Feel free to comment on Spotify. That really helps out our algorithm and everything. So if you like this episode, or, you have anything you want to talk about or contribute to it, then leave a comment on Spotify or on Patreon. And of course, thank you to all our Patreon members. You guys freaking rock. You help keep the lights on, help keep us going and everything. And we really appreciate you. So thanks guys and gals. And I hope you check out Alien Rogue Incursion. And as always, we'll catch you on the Xenomorph side.
Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. You can support the show by joining our Patreon page, picking up a t-shirt from our merch store, or leaving us a 5-star review. Follow us on Instagram at Podcasting After Dark. All links can be found on our website at www.podcastingafterdark.com. And join us next time for another cult movie or TV show review with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.